Welcome, friends, to the Someone Gets Me podcast. I am your host, Diane Allen, and I am so delighted that you're here. This podcast was created because I believe there is a visionary leader inside each one of us who is waiting to be seen. In each episode of Someone Gets Me, you will hear useful tips from successful visionaries who will share their stories about how being seen has allowed them to take their vision out into the world with action. Hey everybody, it's Diane here with Choi. Now, she is a conscious business coach and much more. Really amazing woman. And today we are going to talk about conscious business being good business. A conscious business means more than just being an entrepreneur or a business owner. It means your business of life, buying from conscious businesses, being a consumer of things and being aware and conscious. And so Anna and I met each other over this conversation of consciousness. So Anna's on the show with us, and we are going to have a conversation about being conscious in the business world. And so here we go. Anna, welcome so much to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Diane.
I'm so happy that you're here. So how about starting out with what got you started and even thinking about conscious business? Like, how did you get to this spot? Because you've done a lot of successful things leading here, but tell me how this all got born.
Yeah. So I would say my awakening to consciousness was in college, and I grew up in a suburban, all white town as an Asian American, and you just kind of grew up in church, Christian church and everything, and then in kind of not sheltered, but kind of somewhat. Anyway, I went to college at the University of Washington and started learning about all these things in the world and in my classes. And I like to say I transformed from an ignorant kind of suburbanite into a global conscious citizen who votes with your dollar, who is conscious about each choice that you make does impact like the entire world essentially when it ripples out. So that's what was the inception. And then my first business as a financial advisor, I specialized in socially responsible investing and impact investing, which then morphed into sustainable responsible impact or SRI investing.
Right.
And all that means is like, yeah, your money, where you invest, you get to choose, not just with negative screens of like, no tobacco or oil companies, but beyond that, who has women on their board, who has, non-slave practices in the supply chain,
Right.
but who's also doing the, not just the negative stuff, but the positive things, right? So forwarding diversity, etc. And
Right.
then
So
that
it's not,
go on.
yeah. So it's not just taking your money away from the things you disagree with. It's using your money to support the things that align with your values.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very important. So your business now, you work with business leaders and you help conscious business leaders grow their consciousness and really make a bigger impact in the world.
Yes.
So what do you do for your consciousness? How do you do to grow your personal consciousness?
Oh, I love this question. I could go for days. I won't though. The number one way on a micro level is through my morning ritual and bedtime rituals. And so I'll do my morning is my main one and making sure that I have what I call, honestly, I like 3 hours, but 2 hours will do of completely personal time. And I call it like a date with my soul. And so when I wake up, that varies. I'll have different like 21-day challenges for myself. And sometimes it'll be like doing bows or it'll be meditating or yoga movements. It depends and varies. And what right now I'm doing a fun one where I do like a minute of laughter. Anyway, so all those different things that help raise my energy, raise my consciousness from, just the default going through life, kind of waiting and responding to things. And it has me, just really clear out and create my tension for the day.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love how you use laughter because I was just talking to somebody today about how laughter raises our vibration and raises our consciousness, just the excitement of it. And like, I was so excited to do this show with you today because I'm like, I know we're going to laugh and have fun. And it's near the end of the day for me. So usually I'm like winding down and I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be a great way to end my work day, so to speak, today. So I love how you mentioned that laughter. I think that's really important. And I think that sometimes people in business or people who are, trying to make it, so to speak, these days get overly serious or distracted or fearful. And laughter is really good medicine, just to clear out the static and the gooky stuff, I say.
Yeah, it cuts through the significance.
Right? Exactly. So what I would really like to kind of dive deep into is the world is in the middle of this great transformation that's
Yes.
moving faster than ever before. And there are people like myself who are a little older than you, have kind of been doing this for a long time, and we've kind of got the wheels a little bit moving. And then thankfully, there are a lot of young awakening people like you who are coming up with us, and it's like the wave is really, really moving in the consciousness space. And
Yes.
so I would really like to dive in a little bit with you about how it feels for you. You're an Asian American, you're young, and this world is being goofy, but it's also evolving into something beautiful. How does that feel for you? What do you see for the future? Give us a sense of like what goes on with you when you kind of look at this global consciousness situation.
Yes. So it's been long overdue, and I think it was below the surface. All the the whole 2020 year, for on one hand, was, I don't want to swear, but I'm gonna say a shit show, and for many, and it was this dichotomy at the same time as it was for our family, who suddenly was homeschooling and remote working, to also go within. And so all the conscious people are like really excited because this is what we've been waiting for, and it's the um, reckoning of, it's the gotta surface the crap to clear out, right,
Right.
as a global community. And so from that perspective, just as a I guess a human being, or mom, or business mom, um, it's been very exciting to right now, or like in particular, it's April of 2021, April 21 of 21. We're able to, there's a how to explain it. I've noticed it like people went inward, and now things are kind of speeding up. And yes, there's like, it could be wave 3 or whatever, but there's also people are getting vaccinated. And so it's like a removing back, trying to go back to what it was, but it won't be ever again.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I've now heard this like in multiple ways. And what it's not just about masks, but um, it's a new way of operating in the world,
Mhm.
and definitely in business. So there's a choice point again. I mean, there's always choice points, but a big one right now, I feel like, as a bigger consciousness of, am I going to go back and return to the hustle and grind? Am I going to stand for that, or am I going to just, you know, stand for the new reality that's already here if we embrace it? And you can see, I think I haven't researched this, so don't quote me, but I think a lot of people have left jobs, or they're switching. There's a ton of
Mhm.
transition happening. People are moving, that they're realizing also that, oh wow, this could be our last day. I mean, there's like this different state of consciousness available. So a lot of transitions. There always
Mhm.
was, but I feel like it's very exacerbated right now. And people are having to choose: am I going to create that new, live the new consciousness I am at, that I discovered last year, or slide back to the old consciousness I was in, of the more, do better, rat race crap, ego driven
Well,
kind of world.
right. So like I always say that once the door gets kicked in, you can't close it again. And so I'm watching some people known to me personally, and then just out in the world too, that I see that are trying to go back. Like, we're going to go
Yes.
back. We're going to get back to normalcy. That whole idea of getting back, to which I
Mm-hmm.
say that's not possible. That the universe is always expanding, it's always evolving and always moving forward. So the whole idea of going back is an egoic concept that doesn't even apply in this situation. And
It's
so I
past based
see,
thinking. It's not even here. It's not reality. Yeah.
right, it's not even real. And so then what happens is those people are always being angry, frustrated. They have a real difficult time, discord, get physical illness, injury, act up, and those kinds of things, versus living a life of surrender and being willing to choose to evolve and as a way of moving forward.
Yes. I mean, it's really fascinating because, and I don't want to judge anyone, right? Because everyone's going to have their path. But at the same time, I don't even notice it right now. I know that sounds strange, but I'm just like, all right, let's go, let's create business, right? Like there's not oh, if everybody goes there on a personal level, yes. Because I have to make choices about school for my son or not. Am I going to continue homeschooling? But on a business level, a more global level, it's nice. There's no friction and no, not regret, but like a calling for the past that
Mhm.
allows one to then create newly. Um, that's very freeing and
Yes.
possible for everyone to come from if they want,
Yes.
if they choose.
Right. So I like stand facing forward, and I just choose to keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
to me, that's beauty and elegance and a simplicity that is so sweet and so delightful and creative, and has within it all these like kind of like pregnant opportunities of all different things to check out everywhere.
I was gonna say like there's bigger disruptions on their way. So if you're still looking
Right.
behind you, like Neuralink coming out, and then you've got Skylink now is live. We're gonna get on the wait list, which is, if people don't know what that is, it's Elon Musk's like network of global satellites, which allows internet anywhere in all rural places. Which, if you think about the impact if suddenly all like billions more online, or you know, at little being able to keep up at the speed of processing computers, like that's gonna be way more disruptive, I think, than the
Yes.
pandemic at this point. Not in
Mhm.
a bad way or good way, just like something to contend with of how do we want to live, how you know in this speeding up of tech and processing, how do we slow down or still stay grounded and stay conscious, right?
Right. How do you stay grounded and still speed up with technology and things and stay within ourselves and stay in alignment? Like that's an interesting thing, because when we start waking up, and once you're awake, going back to sleep doesn't work. So there's all of these things, and there is one disruption after the other. Because for me, I call it like the art of the disruption, right? Where when there's a big disruption of any kind, it requires the person or group, or in this case, the planet, to become more honest. It
Mm,
requires a sense of deeper honesty of the beings. And from there, we move forward into wherever, depending on the person's choices. And so good business, conscious business, being a good consumer, and really paying attention to all of these things has to do with that inner integrity and that inner alignment.
yes.
So when you look at it as a business mom, your mom. So when you look at our children and you see their future and the possibilities for them, what do you feel? What do you see?
Oh, I actually have lots and lots of hope for our children,
Mhm.
even
Mhm.
though on one hand it's like, oh my gosh, climate change, we're going to destroy ourselves or whatever. They're so aware, this next generation, in ways I cannot even imagine, if we allow them to rise up
Yeah.
and be the leaders that they already are. If they continue, it's less about age even and more about consciousness. Because if you have conscious parents, they're going to raise more conscious kids. If not, it doesn't really matter if they're young, they could still have old thinking, right?
Right. Yep.
So it really is about what's possible. There's in my TEDx cohort of our TEDx speakers, there was a group of teenage high school girls, and they just were so unstoppable. I mean, they were like, oh, here's a problem with this. They started a school garden. It like scaled. They just kept taking actions, and highly smart and able to cultivate resources. And I was shocked that they could accomplish so much. And it's not just
Mhm.
a few prodigies. It's truly, I mean, all kids can make a difference. So I don't even want to say hope, because that's doesn't really take you anywhere. It's more
Right.
like it's I'm gonna say it's a coin toss of what will happen, but our job and our role is to nurture that potential and that consciousness so that they can accelerate, the
Right.
change. Yeah.
Right. Because we can only impact what we can impact, knowing it connects to everything. It all ripples out. So the more we really nurture the higher consciousness in ourselves and our children, then that positive impact can't help but happen.
There's also a ton of funding going on, like in reality. So I went to the Wisdom 2.0 conference, which is about mindfulness and tech, and how does that connect? So there was the guy, oh my gosh, Tony Fadell, who co-created the iPhone and made the iPod. Yeah, believe that's right. Anyway, he, pretty much just invests in conscious businesses everywhere. And he's like, oh yeah, the Impossible Burger, all that stuff. He's like, we did that a long time ago. We're funding some amazing new things that are right now very bleeding edge, so to speak. And so there's that happening. And then there's also from, what's the other thing? I'm not remembering that right now, but anyway, there's a lot of exciting actual funding happening into conscious businesses on a very global scale that gives me a lot of hope after going to that conference, of people ending racism, of people, social justice, from all angles, of education, transforming what that looks like. So it's up to us each moment to choose where we're going to keep causing a ripple impact or not in our next generation being able to carry the torch.
Right. Well, I always say that we're always making an impact. And so we get to choose what kind, whether it's evolutionary, moving forward and raising consciousness, or is it devolving and creating more angst and difficulty, strife, thrashing around, I call it. We don't want to do that anymore. That's not fun.
Yeah, we don't have to overcome hardship. This is a pattern I've been working on myself for. Oh, wait, you can have what you want without hardship. You don't have to find the hardship to overcome, right? That's kind of an old paradigm that we're moving out of.
Right. And I had somebody to the other day say to me this similar thing by going, I always learn things the hard way. And I'm like, you can release that idea if you'd like, and you don't have to keep learning things the hard way. It doesn't have to happen that way. You can keep creating it, but you can be free of it as well. And they looked at me a little curious, like, really? Exactly. And I went, well, you don't. You can have greatness and goodness and consciousness without so much difficulty that you wonder how you lived through it. Totally. Right?
Yeah.
So, Anna, what do you do for fun? What do you like to do for fun?
For fun? Okay, so I do taekwondo, and I love, it's like a lot of lessons through the body. Mm-hmm. One of my big ones is like, slow down. I literally go too fast when I spin and do a kick, and it's so parallel to my life. And then I also love singing. I just had a voice lesson today, and this is so good. So there's like a pure sound you can create with your head voice. We have a chest voice and a head voice. They use different muscles. And so I'm retraining my throat chakra which I think has baggage there anyway, to be able to sing pure notes. And it requires my face to make this surprised yawn look to access the higher register for your head voice. And I'm trying to do this, and my voice lesson teacher is like, make your mouth more of an O. She's like, you're just yawning, relax. And I'm having the hardest time, and my brow's furrowed, I'm tight in my face, and I can't make the sound. And I remember it was so fascinating to think that is a very good metaphor of consciousness today, because it's like there's these old patterns, and I was surprised how hard it was to relax my face and be like, oh, and it would get stuck in my throat. And by relaxing, aka being conscious, like by allowing my natural sound, versus like straining and trying and overcoming hardship, right? Like it naturally comes out really loud and pure. And I think as a collective consciousness, we're allowing that natural note, that song, to come out that has been in the past strained and tense, and it feels weird is what I'm trying to say, and to as a collective relax the face and allow. It's very counterintuitive. It threatens the ego. The ego's like, no, I gotta work hard. And instead we have to relax. Sorry, that was kind of a tangent there.
No, I don't think it was a tangent at all. It totally goes, because I think it's a perfect metaphor for it. And I think it's so completely true. And we have to just relax and allow, because the answers and the power and the light and the vibrancy is all within us trying to come out. And so I was thinking, when you were saying that about the tense throat, I was thinking about when you put the air in the balloon and then you pull the balloon and it goes,
Yeah.
and it's like, and that's what so many people are doing. And I think that
Yes.
sore throats and that's throat cancer
Yes.
and that's all of that gooky stuff, that when you relax and allow and you let it just really emerge through you and you trust, that's how your consciousness comes higher purely, and it works. I think that's a beautiful story. I don't think it was a tangent at all. I was like, yeah, it's true.
I just find it fascinating that our body is literally like such an indicator for everything, and
Mhm.
how, you know, I'm just imagining, I guess there's parts in your actual body, not just your face, that the sound wants to come out and it cannot. So she was
Mhm.
teaching me, she's like, you want to move while you're singing, like, oh, I'm just making noises right now, but you want to, when you move, my volume went up like 10 times, and that's kind of like our latent potential that's there in our bodies, but it's stuck, and until we like move through it, right, it can't sing, and it can't project and expand and be loud. So anyway, the body's amazing.
Mhm.
So
Right.
amazing.
Well, the body's the perfect feedback loop. And so that's what you're saying is like, so if you got all kinds of tightness in your body or you feel all whatever, maybe make some noise and sing, or just make noise and move
Yes,
and allow that energy to free up so that it can be expressed in whatever powerful, neat way it's meant to be expressed.
exactly.
And then in that, the energy rises and the consciousness rises by definition.
Yes, movement is like such a big thing right now in sound healing in
Mhm.
general, right? To
Right.
really work with the body to allow one's consciousness to raise. And it's so simple. Smile, we talked about sing, dance, like just have fun. It feels guilty, like we should be working harder, but just have to take pleasure, like really sing. So I wrote my first song and composed it when I was taking the 16-day road trip to the Southwest,
Right.
and that's my new favorite thing I want to create more time for. But yeah.
That's amazing. And you just reminded me that so many people like my age and older who've been doing consciousness work we're still having to undo some of those previous teachings of work like a machine. And if
Yes.
you're not grinding all the time and you don't drive yourself into the ground, it's not noble. And all of
Yeah,
those.
I don't think it's an older age thing. I think it's that everyone has that. That's what
Right.
all my clients deal with. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
so it
entrenched.
takes a lot to like say, no, 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 you come first. It's a whole, let's flip it. And that conscious people, we have flipped it ourselves and we're teaching other people to flip it, but we still have to work through those little tendrils and those little things that keep showing up. And sometimes it comes in big that, wait a second, oh no, 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 we're doing it this way now. We're doing it this way now.
I'm writing a book, right? And one of my book coaches was like, okay, tell me what it's about. And we're trying to figure out the plan, launch plan, and all that. And I start sharing about the road trip and making the song. And I'm getting excited. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. This is just a side note. Sorry, I got, distracted. She goes, no, Anna, that is the note. That is the note. And I'm like, wait a second. And my whole life kind of flashed before my eyes as far as realizing all the moments in time that I have made the side note, the hobbies, the pleasure after my work is done, like always the side note, and it is the note. And so I'm making a big bold move, and I had to follow and walk my talk. And so I'm taking like not a sabbatical, but somewhat, where I closed off all my client calls for the next 2 months to really deep dive into the creative process and allow that idea to birth. And my ego went nuts. It was like, you're gonna fail, you're gonna like lose all your momentum, you're gonna lose all your clients. Oh my gosh, it was so scary. And so I took the actions, and it wasn't like total relief initially, but I had to work through that paradigm,
Yep.
that old like work, 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 work. And so I'm now on the other side, but it's actually the period hasn't started of my 2 months kind of on this creative sabbatical, I should say.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's freeing here. It's like, oh, I didn't die. It is okay, right? And
Right.
only then can I then coach like my clients, like Olivia, who's a pain physician in Australia, right? And have them also be able to teach that to their clients, but you can't do that until you are able to do that.
Right. Well, you have to be able to trust that process because I have several books out, like 7, I think, and I'm working on the 8th one So if you need any support or anything, just call me anytime.
Please. Absolutely. We
And
should buddy up.
we should. It'd be really fun.
That'd be fun.
And and I'm working on a really cool book now that I started working on a while ago, and then it changed direction, and then it went back somewhere else. And I keep getting all these insights, and now it's starting to weave together like, oh, okay, that's the vision. And that's what spirit's trying to work through me, and everything.
Yeah.
And it's really, really powerful to be in that creative space and give ourselves permission to do it. And the ego wants us to think everything's going to crash and burn. Well, really, it all gets ignited. And so
Yeah.
the ego's not our amigo. I say that all the time. And so it's quite the opposite of what our head says. Our head says, oh, don't do that. But when we unleash that potential in that process, then all bets are off. Everything is even more amazing than even we can conceive of when we start. We can't even see it.
Yes. You said the ego's not our what?
Amigo.
Oh, that's funny. That's cute. The ego's not our ego.
Because it's it'll say stuff to us like, oh, don't do that. Oh my God, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, it's just freaking out. This is the other big pattern, at least, okay, so I kind of take it, right? Our personal patterns are the world's patterns too, but
Right.
the whole like slowing down with our mind as well, freaking out, and then going into our heart and expressing from the heart.
Yes.
That practice, oh my goodness, I'm like so used to coming from the head and thinking about my feelings from my head, not from my heart, right? And I'm still a student at this, but practicing listening to the heart, acting on the heart, speaking from the heart adds a lot more yin to that yang 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 mind ego energy.
Yeah. That's how we're all trained, trained to live with our head first, and our mind first. It's really our heart has more vibrational energy and way more power
in every way.
And it's funny because I had a conversation with a client last week, I guess, and we were talking about the head and the heart thing. And he's a musician and writes from his heart, and then his head will either try to stomp on it or just backs totally off. Like he's trying to manage how to keep his intellect as the supporting actor and helping out and doing some of the logistical human three-dimensional things while letting his heart like really lead the show in the music part. And so he's one of the few people that I actually work with that goes the other way, that I have to go from heart to head, not head to heart.
Oh, interesting. I could see that, right? There's extremes.
Mm-hmm.
You got the poor artist as opposed, can't make money or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, this person's quite famous. And so he has made his living for his entire career, and a very good one that way. But yet the personal struggle is where is the ego? Where is the head trying to squash this or change it or move it? And so there's always that little dance. There's always that little dance between our head and our ego and our heart and our soul. I kind of see it as all three, totally. Like you're saying.
Yeah, right. You can't miss the other ones. And our body we kind of missed, but
right.
That's the fourth one. Mind, heart, body, soul.
Right. Well, I always see five. I see the mind, the emotions, the physical being, and our environment, which I kind of put physical all together. And then our soul and our social circles who we're connected to. And our connections, whether they're our family or our friends or whatever, all of our connections and our peer groups really affect our energetics.
Completely. We're connected to the grid, right?
So if you're hanging around low energy all the time and you're the high energy person, you'll bring them energy, but you'll end up tired, right?
Totally.
And so I kind of see all five of those always. There's always like a play. It's like a movement, like which ones are going to be running the show more, who's more dominant, who's doing what. And so it's a very interesting dance depending on what we're doing or what the situation is.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it's really, really fun. So you're going to take 2 months and you're going to write this book and do creative things. You'll probably write more songs and sing things.
Yeah, right? And do more homeschooling with my son too. But yeah,
more homeschooling. What about your TV shows? Are you going to do those still, or are you not going to do those?
So book and TV shows is like the main focus.
Okay, good. Yes, because I'm excited about those TV shows that we were talking about. Why don't you tell everybody about the TV shows that you're doing? Because I know, but listeners don't know.
Yes, so it's just through our cable access TV. So I'm not clear. I'm gonna repost to my YouTube channel, Energy TV, so people can see it there because I think it might just be a local thing. I'm not sure. Anyway, so the first one is called Anna Uncut, the Business Mom, and that'll just chronicle like basically the life journey, and I'll give business kind of advice from also a mom perspective and from as a homeschooler now too, and lots of travel. And then the other episode is, or not episode, but series is called Energize with Anna. And so that's going to be bringing Qigong and yoga and office exercises. We do not move our bodies. It is such an intelligent being. And how can we integrate that to really master our energy? So
that'll be wonderful. So you're going to put those on your YouTube channel. So we'll put the links to your YouTube channel in the show notes so that you can go subscribe and follow Anna. I think that'd be really great. I'm going to do that because I think it would be really fun to see what you're sharing, both in your uncut part, because it's a balance, being a mom and homeschooling and running a business and being creative and caring about consciousness and growing and evolving yourself. That is a really neat, interesting mix. And I think that a lot of people could get value out of it, whether they're a mom or not, or whether they're a woman or not. Anybody could get value out of it. And then, of course, the movement part, I think everybody could use too, because I don't think people move enough.
Yes, all of these are parts of like our Alive model that we really like to use with clients. As far as like A is like allowing more yin to your yang. So this little creative sabbatical is like an example of that, or making sure that you take off a vacation, like at least I think 1 week every quarter at a minimum, if not like 6 to 8 weeks. And then there's listening within, which is really what we're talking about with, more the inner wisdom and consulting with different advisors in your committee, so to speak.
Right.
And then there's the investing in you. So making sure you come first. A lot of my clients, oh my goodness, they will do the soul sucking thing that makes money before doing the thing they love, because that urgent hustle thing is still there.
Right. It's still alive in our world, whether we like it or not.
Right. I know. And then valuing your fears. So that's really using that as a teacher as opposed to, something to avoid or fix or fight. Right. And then energizing your daily flow. So that's where the TV show will really come in, as far as the movement, like the actual movement required in the day to really make sure you're staying high vibing.
Yeah. Oh, that's really amazing. So if somebody is like got a desk job all the time, or like, like most people are living on Zoom half the day or doing computer work all day long, and they're like sitting, what are some things they could do to kind of energize themselves? If like, say they have like a 3-minute break or a 5-minute break, or they're in between meetings and, they can't go for a long walk, or they can't go hang out in nature. What is something they could do to energize themselves just sitting in their chair or even standing at their desk?
Yes. So if this one might look kind of silly, but I'll give you ones that you can do incognito first, okay? So we've got the good old pinky thumb. So if you put both of your fists out, like you're going to punch someone, and you put out one thumb and one pinky. Okay. And then you close both fists and switch. So the other thumb and the other pinky, and you go back and forth like this.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It's kind of like rubbing your head and taught me that thing, Okay, so that's one. And everyone's kind of clumsy with it at first, and like, whoa, it's harder to do, but then you get better as the pattern comes on. Another one is intestinals, and that's where you put both your thumbs and your belly button, and you relax the rest of your hands. So it makes like a triangle. So your fingertips touch, your thumbs are touching, and in that center of that triangle, if you go straight back to the middle of your body, picture and put your awareness in basically your second chakra, right? Your core. Right. Then you suck your belly button into your spine and relax, suck it in again, and kind of pump. So it's kind of like a sitting crunch. And what you're doing is really moving along your intestines. On average, some studies say you have 10 to 15 pounds of waste, even if it's good, like veganish food, it putrefies if you're not moving it along. And most of us aren't exercising our internal organs. We're just doing our muscles on the outside. So by just keep pumping, if you're listening to this, you can start to feel it burn and get hot, right?
Right.
And it's also an Eastern philosophy of this concept, water up, fire down, where if you have a hot head that's always pissed off about the latest tech thing that just happened, or like all this stuff that's happening, and we have colder guts, right? Stiff, might get constipated, whatever. Here, by doing this exercise, you reverse it back to its natural circulation state, where your kidneys can cool off your brain and have a cool head, and then you can feel your belly getting warm. And that's like our optimum state for performance, for energy mastery, and there's so many benefits. So as a martial artist, that the same principles apply, but
Right.
in general, that's another awesome one for the office. And there's, you can do calf races, you can kind of do push-ups against the wall, you can do kind of traditional, more exercise movements as well.
Well, I love that movement with your hands at the belly button part to bring heat there, because sometimes, like I have emotional overexcitabilities as a gifted person, so when something happens, my emotions go whoa, really fast. They're very intense, either totally joy, like wow, or I'm really angry, or I'm really sad, and then it comes right back down. It's like a wave, and then I'm good. It's not.
Right.
And that's just how emotional overexcitabilities are. So I just kind of learn how to ride them. And I do that breathing sometimes, because it massages the vagus nerve to help calm the system. But I didn't have the awareness in that other same way that you did. Like it's the same thing, but I love how you said that. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yes.
So the kidneys, like I was following it with you, and I'm like, I love that. I love all the layers. I love how the answer is yes.
Yes.
And you can look at it vagus nerve wise. You can look at it, it just feels good for your ab muscles. And you can look at it as it really helps out your intestines and your kidneys and your head. And it makes it so that you can be more joyful and productive. So any way you want to look at it, there,
Right.
there's a benefit.
Yes, 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 yes.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's great.
I
I'm
know
glad I asked.
it's helpful to go in layers, like this science-wise. I mean, you're just pumping blood and oxygen down there, right?
Right,
And then
right.
your organs can function more optimally as far as like absorbing nutrients and then excreting waste, and then if it's just stagnating there. But yeah.
Right. So if we're just sitting all the time, if somebody's just sitting, you have to do something to move it through your body, move your body around, get the energy and flow going,
Yes.
Yeah, totally. So what's the most memorable food you've ever eaten?
Ooh.
I mean, you've you've
Memorable.
you've had a lot of really amazing fun experiences in your life. And I love to ask people who I know have had amazing experiences, like, you think back, like, what's the most memorable one, that food you've eaten?
That's funny. So I have been in multiple places around the world, but my what's coming up right now as the most memorable is this vegan creme brulee I made for myself on a date night for myself. I like doing dates with your soul, and
Mhm.
doing what nobody ever does that you want, and I wanted homemade vegan creme brulee. So it's made out of cashews, and you have to soak them, and instead of it's a dairy-free alternative, so you have to torch it. Anyway, it's delicious. It was the best thing
I
ever.
love creme brulee, so I'm gonna have to try vegan creme brulee with cashews. That would be really
Yes, I
good.
have the recipe. I can send you. Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh, definitely. Oh yeah. I'm gonna make that.
I'm trying to think globally. After like screening through, there's been so many. I remember one time going to Korea, and we went into the yard, and there was in a cage like this kind of beautiful bird, and I was like, oh wow, it's so cool. And then when we sat down,
Oh
this is
no.
back before I was vegan. I like saw the thing cooked with its head cut off in front of us, but they don't really like defeather it a lot. It's like the whole thing kind of. That was surprising.
Yeah, that was a little surprising. You're like, wait a minute. and and so you're vegan now.
Yes, yes.
So how is being a
Ish. I like to say ish because
how
I'm
how
not strict.
being how being veganish, how is that supporting your growing consciousness?
Oh gosh, this is my soapbox, Dan. I'm like, I'll try to contain it. No, I'll let the freak flag fly. Uh, so my okay, there's multiple layers of why I chose to be vegan because I grew up on Korean food, which is a lot of it's like bulgogi, kalbi is like meat and like red meat, and it's awesome and marinated and delicious. And it's the way we commune and how my mother loved meat, right? Was through cooking this
Mhm.
amazing meat base, and she loves meat.
Yeah.
She put extra in the spaghetti. So I watched a bunch of documentaries on everything vegetarian and vegan because I was at this cafe that was raw food cafe. And so I got, so how does it raise my consciousness is, well, for me, it's about being a conscious consumer. And so a lot of the meat-based industry contributes to climate change from the shipping of the meat to the carbon to just the straight up poop. there's piles and piles of poop that emits
Mhm.
then, CO2. And it's not just animal practices, although that's in many forms inhumane, but there's bad energy because like the workers there who have to like do all the butchering, they have like higher suicide rates. I mean, there's like that whole ripple effect. And then there's the sustainable, um, the health impact as well in your consciousness. Your body's your temple, right? So if there was suffering that you're ingesting, right, that goes into your body aside from just the toxins or pesticides or things that might also be in there.
Right.
um, and so there's a really good documentary. A lot of documentaries converted me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
on one of them, my friend is like super anal about fact checking like everything and is a super researcher. And when I'm forgetting the name of the documentary right now because I've seen so many, but this was the game changer because he's like, I don't really care about the animal rights or about
Mhm.
all the environmental reasons. Even he's like, it was just a health case, a case for health, and just over time, plant-based versus animal-based protein is just rejuvenating, better for your cells, etc. than animal-based. So anyway, I don't. It's not a missing for me with me anymore. It's it just in the food I choose to bring into my body. I want it to be as full as much energy and shakti, as my spiritual teacher would say, as possible. And so that's like the most conscious part is like what I'm ingesting has had a good process from
Yeah.
the very source of where it came from,
Right.
ideally like an organic, sustainable farm, right, with no GMOs, pesticides, and then coming in loving hands all the way, 17 hands. I'm just making that number up, but going, from the harvester to the store to the people handling at the store to your bag, that whole
Right.
process is also conscious, which allows you to like appreciate as you're eating. Anyway, so do I do that every mealtime? No, but it's just the whole process is being very conscious of what goes into your temple and impacts, what you put in your body obviously impacts who you get to be emotionally on all four levels that we talked about: mind, body, heart, and spirit.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful. And I totally get that because there's times when I've been like all plant-based and then there's times where I haven't been and I've gone through all these different times of my life, kind of basically paying attention to what my body needs or wants or is asking for.
Yes.
And I can feel a difference. And I think the more we raise our consciousness, the more sensitive we are, more aware we are to it. Like we can feel it differently, just like you can feel those muscles when you were singing. Like it's like I had a client who's introduced me to one of their relatives, and the relative who was younger said, I was eating a fish and I could connect to that energy of the fish. So I will never eat
Mm-hmm.
another fish again. So totally like
Mm-hmm.
plant-based because you can connect with that. And
Wow.
the other older people at the table were like, what? And I like totally understood what he was talking
Like what
about.
are you
Like
talking about? Yeah.
I totally got it. So there's all these changes in the consciousness going on in the world. And so it's so delightful to know you as a consciousness leader and working with
Oh.
business owners and people to really keep raising their consciousness, which means you're also raising your consciousness, and to bring that message and to bring the importance of being a conscious consumer, being a conscious human being, a parent, business owner. It goes like all the way across our whole lives. And I have such great respect for you, and you inspire me just to know you.
Aw.
So I'm really glad that you were here to share with everybody today. And so before I ask you my final question of the night, is there anything you wanted to talk about today that I didn't ask you about? Because I know I asked you all these really amazing questions, but you might have had something you wanted to share with everybody that I didn't think about. So is there anything that I left unsaid?
Probably just how I help people, maybe, so that might be useful.
Okay, that's a
um,
good idea.
um, so yeah, I typically am working with high conscious, entrepreneurs that want to be able to prevent burnout and grow their business in flow. So like, for example, I have a client named Stephanie, and she always had a really, as a health insurance agent, had a particular season, kind of like a tax season with the CPA might, of just hustle and grind, just suck it up for that quarter, and then you can rest. And so this was an awesome challenge where we were able to apply that alive model I was talking about earlier, and really first plan out all our vacations, number one, So she had her end and she had like rewards. And then number two is really hack into her day to day and create a conscious schedule that fit her flow. So she double book, went late on Thursday nights, for example, but slept in on Fridays. And then from there, she actually let go and trust with her team and started doing the fun things that replenished her. Like she's also in singing and loves like thrift shopping, and she started a walking club. So much that there was such a transformation during the busiest season that when she walked down into the foyer, her competitor was like, "Are you in business still?" And she's like, "Yeah, why do you ask?" She's like, "How can you be," she was posting flyers for her chorus concert. She's like, "How can you have time to do that during the busiest season?" And Steffi's like, "I'm a business coach." So she was able to completely grow and flow. And that's what I'm here for, because I have a heart for conscious entrepreneurs, whether you have a job and there might be a side hustle, or you just have your own business, and really being able to master your own energy and grow and flow.
Oh, that's beautiful. Grow and flow. Yes. I love it. And to be alive, it all goes together perfectly. That's beautiful. And so all the links to how to follow Anna and her website and everything are in the show notes, along with her bio. So you can check that out and follow her and let her know you heard her here on Someone Gets Me. And then she will know that you were entertained by this conversation. Okay. So the last question of the night is that we're going to put a billboard up that the whole world is going to see with Anna's quote on it. What quote is going to be on the billboard that you would like the whole world to see? Your message.
Oh, my go-to is always be the change you wish to see in the world, but I'm trying to come up with a more creative one than that. I'm going to make up one of just from Anna versus
From
like
Anna.
someone else.
Right. An Anna quote where it'll say Anna at the bottom.
Yes, an Anna quote. I would just say, you are consciousness itself and can create anything you want.
I love that. You are consciousness itself and can create anything you want. Yay. That is a great billboard. Again, thank you so much for being on the show and spending time with us and sharing your aliveness, your smile, your vibrancy, and inspiring me and giving me hope for the future. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Diane. It's been a pleasure.
So remember, everybody, keep your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star. You're here on purpose with a purpose. So go out there, raise your light, raise your consciousness, be that lighthouse in the world, and allow yourself to shine, thrive, and, as Anna would say, be alive. See you next time. Someone Gets Me. Be well. Thank you for listening. I trust you gained some valuable inspiration and information. Please join me and other visionaries in the Someone Gets Me Facebook group. Or for more information on my services and additional episodes, visit someonegetsme.com. Again, thanks for listening.